Here we go, the semi-finals for this tournament. Of course, like I was saying before, this is the first time we are seeing a Leviathan game mode being played in a tournament. If you've been following my cast for the last couple of days or the last week or so, I've been kind of touching on some other community tournaments. A majority of those have just, or all of them rather, have just been in standard Illuvium Arena. Gauntlet, which of course free to play. And same thing with Leviathan, it is free to play, but because this is Leviathan, there is something a little bit special. The actual Illuvials themselves that you own, whether it be purchasing through the marketplace or finding them in the Illuvium overworld, do actually come into play. So what does that exactly mean? Every Illuvial has their own stats, and as I pull up this relentless links here for the side of badool, you can see in the right under the energy bar, it actually has a level. So the time that these trainers or these rangers have taken to level up their Illuvials is going to give them an advantage over somebody who doesn't necessarily own them. Because we'll see if I happen to left click one, and this one's like, yeah, this is a level 60. They took their time or found an Illuvial that's level, or found on the marketplace rather, an Illuvial that is level 60. And the little stats along the way definitely make a big difference in these battles. Have not quite had the opportunity to introduce our players here in this first of two semifinals. We do have from Team Monarch, it's badool, Foxspirit from Team Atlas, KiritoHYPE, SneG.Atlas, SotaHYPE, FuryzHYPE. We got a lot of hype team kills here. Oh dear goodness. Ma and Web3 Gaming TV. And of course, with this semifinal, with this tournament in general, so what we are doing now, the last couple of matches have just been best of one, make it into the top 4, and you move on to the next round. Not going to be the case in this one. It's basically going to tally your points based off of where you finish in 2 games. And the people with the most points after the 2 games will move on, rather the top 8 will move on to the grand finals here. We're still very early on into this one. That's like Fox.Atlas. That's a mixture. Foxspirit just absolutely crushing on through here, and he's going to be one of those players I'm going to be watching for a little while because, in terms of Illuvium Arena, he's been at the top of the leaderboard for the longest time, whether it be first or close to that. I imagine that he has access to plenty of killer Illuvials. And that's what you'll see if I keep popping up this box here. I'm checking levels to try and get the best possible context for this battle. Because it's sneaky. Like, you think of this little Chuko, for example. It's only a little stage 1. It can't do that much damage, can it? Meanwhile, it's level 60 and hits like a truck. So that is definitely going to be something to get used to here in this Leviathan game mode. Hopping on into the carousel here. Got a couple of tier 3s that could be ready for pickup, whether it be tanks or fighters. He's definitely gonna have to choose. Web3 Gaming going to be picking up the Gorilla. Honestly, that's just a popular pick in general from what I've seen. That's Gorilla just being able to find the squishy targets and jump on them pretty well without issue. So even though it's a tier 1, it's a very, very good tier 1. And not leaving a whole heck of a lot here for badool and Foxspirit. They really both wanted that cling, but not going to be able to pick that one up this time here. Going into the next round, let's ride along here with SotaHYPE as they play their fellow teammate FuryzHYPE, or FuryzHYPE. And we've got rogues, we've got bulwarks, but on the side of Sota, we do have the Predator buff as well. So a little bit of execution damage alongside things, able to clean up some of these Illuvials a little bit quicker. That Greater Gorilla, level 60, so maxed out completely. That's going to be an absolute menace to deal with. Meanwhile, on the other side here for Furies, does have a couple in the 30s, 40 or so. Put a couple items, or an item here, onto the Slap and the Penguin. But in terms of levels, this should go in Sota's favor pretty considerably, but that is not the end-all be-all as we see the battle take on place here. But we're seeing that Gorilla be an absolute menace in the back line for both teams, actually. Both of them going for it. And right now, pretty even. The smoke screen coming out there from the Chuko is going to make things a little bit interesting. It's kind of a spread-out battle here. The Gorilla is extremely low. If that goes down, I'm not sure if they have the damage to take care of this. And the Slap in there on the side of the red side here. FuryzHYPE going to clean things up. So if there is an example of levels aren't everything, that is your Exhibit A right there. See if we can hop on in here with badool. I haven't gotten the chance to really see them. Going up against KiritoHYPE. What do we got for team compositions? We do have the one tank alongside a mixture of things here on the side of badool. Meanwhile, Kirito is going for rogues and fighters. Who needs a front line if you can just take care of it and take it out quickly? It is pretty crazy, though, that on the green side, we do see the foe and the squeeze already here. So early in the game, we haven't even made it to round 10, and those are two tier 5 very, very effective Illuvials. And you can kind of see through, if I hop on over to the damage tab, that is going to make a huge difference there. The squeeze and the foe both putting in a ton of damage, alongside the relentless links as well. So unfortunate there for Kirito. badool going to put the hurt on a little bit more. Now, of course, every game is not the same, as we do have regions also as a part of the game here, as this time we're at the Halcyon, see, and this time you get to build your bank a little bit quicker compared to the standard game, getting an additional 3 credits per round. A relatively tame one, but we've seen some crazy regions that can put a massive either damper or perk, depending on how the RNG kind of goes in your favor. And we'll have to maybe see some later on today. So got plenty of games to go, of course. This is only the first of 2 semifinals. There is another semifinal happening as we speak. 2 groups, of course, happening here. But badool versus Foxspirit are 2 leaders in this one. We see Foxspirit with a little bit more of a sustain-based composition, but can you sustain through the squeeze, through the lightning? Can they end up doing so? Right now, they're hanging on by a thread. They have the numbers, and that Archo is coming in clutch to keep the tanks alive for at least a little bit longer, but the lightning does reset if it gets a final hit. A lot of low health bars again, but the squeeze does not have its ability up yet. Gonna take care of one, reset, take out the other, but the Archos is too tanky. It may not have that much damage, but it has enough health and ability to sustain itself that it should be able to get this one due. Slap fight, wet noodle fight, so to speak, here in the middle of the battle. Lightning's gonna strike, overtime gonna come on through, and slowly but surely, Foxspirit is gonna be able to take care of that. Could not, or the little squeeze that could not quite finish the job that time, but at least very minimal damage here for badool. Let's see if we can ride along here with Kirito. Kirito, what are you up to? You're going up against Furies? Actually, I haven't seen Ma yet here in this one, or Web3, and they happen to be playing each other. So let's take a look at this one. See these compositions in action here. 3 Fire, 2 Earth on the side of Web3. Empaths, Bulwarks, and Fighters. Nice mixture of tank, support, and damage. And pretty well the exact same thing on the opposite side here for Ma. Have to see how this one ends up going down, but granted, Ma does have the little extra sustain from the nature affinity, so we'll have to see if that ends up coming to play here. Looking for that Fern in the back line. That thing might be an empath, but it has enough damage to kind of make up for it. Meanwhile, on the other side, we do see a little sneak that could just firing away. It's got the amplification there as well from the app-on. Every time you see that purple layer come on down, stuns everything around it, but also buffs damage. And I think they should be able to burn on through here. Takes care of the app on the side of Ma. One more buff, I don't think actually gets on through, but never mind. The fighter, the ranger in the background has been making up for the damage that the a green side or for that hasn't had, but one-on-one actually, and by a thread, it is going to be the little snake that could. My goodness, right down to the very edge, the Pyre. That was 61 health left. I thought the Ranger had it. I genuinely thought the Ranger had that one. Oh my goodness, what a battle there. And honestly, look, I'm gonna sound like I'm shilling the heck out of this, but that could be the difference between the Pyre having a little bit of extra bonus in terms of health and defense compared to the average one. And I'm actually, that's gonna actually bug me. Where did that go? That was Web 3 that had that Pyre, right? Let's take a look, because it leveled up, and it was barely even leveled up as well, so wow, that was very, very, very close. A clutch moment there, though, for the little Pyre that could. Web 3 gaming hype definitely hyped up about that one. Gonna be going up against Atlas, but who haven't I seen in a little bit? Let's see what Kirito's up to. Kirito and Sota. Okay, I feel like I watched these two play each other already, but let's take a look and see where we're at now in terms of these team compositions a couple of rounds later. Lots of rogues on the side of Sota, but at the same time, same thing here with the green side, with Kirito. Does have, or they both have the dust affinities, both have air, so they're going to be dodging, got lots of damage as well. Granted, the side of Sota will have some extra crit based off of the amount of rogues that he has. A little bit of extra tankiness there with the Revenants coming on through. We'll have to see how this one ends up going. The Cling in the middle is going up against the Rampy. Is going to get torched down a little bit, sent down half. Quarter HP, still hanging on by a thread. It looks like the number is currently going on the side of the red side, but the health bars are not. A very, very close battle once again. Slapping down, or not something slapping, the True Coral just coming in clutch once again here. Sota gonna take some damage. Little smoke screen that makes you untargetable, sometimes just buys you enough time to get the job done, and it had the item as well that allowed it to have a little bit of extra range compared to its normal auto attack range. So just enough to get the job done there. We have badool versus Sota. Let's take a look now. SneG up against Fury. Let's take a look at this mid-pack battle here. There's 7 rogues, 7 fighters. In theory, the fighters would love to be able to eat this one alive. The rogues, of course, not wanting to go into a long-term fight up against the fighters, because in theory, they should win this one. But if they can find some killer targets extremely quickly, that could be huge, and they are going to immediately take care of the bull down the left-hand side. And a lot of the fighters have actually fallen extremely quickly, but there are still some pretty killer members. That Lynx up in the top is going to end up falling, and they did end up taking care of it long enough. The fighters needed just a little bit more of an extra tanky front line, and they're not going to be able to find that. And if there's one thing that I've noticed so far here with the Leviathan game mode, it's how extremely brutal tanks are, because they deal a surprising amount of damage now. Like even this thing right here, the Verminio, this thing isn't necessarily meant to be your damage dealer. It is a rogue, but, and a Revenant in this case here, but it's meant to be sort of like the tank of the rogues alongside the Lura. But there's been many times I've seen so far that it's been either that leading the charge in terms of DPS on its team. I've seen Gnarls and Scarapox or Goliaths leading in damage just because they're item, or they have the right affinities, they have the right items to get the job done. The reflective damage becoming a very, very big problem, especially if the later the game goes on. And just like pure DPS seems to be having a little bit of a harder time, but again, still extremely early in this one. Gonna ride along with this one here. We have Ma versus Atlas. Or rather, SNEG. Call them a team name, not the username. Let's take a look and see. So we do have the stage 3, the Exalted Monk here coming on through. Level 40, so not too bad. Relentless Zephyrlings. We've seen in the tournament yesterday how crazy these Zephyrlynxes can be. But Ma opting for the sustained-based style here with the nature, eventually looking to maybe turn their way over towards a wildfire kind of style. But the fighters, toxic, water, what have you, coming out here from SNEG is going to just run amok through this. This isn't even close here. That monk here doing so much damage. The entire team is doing so much damage. Even the ranger getting involved with those blades. And will absolutely chop their way through that. Ma having a very hard time here in the semifinal. But I've definitely seen crazier. Many times I've seen players down to like 15, then go on a win spree. So not going to count Ma out. Not at all, not yet. What is badool up to? I haven't seen them in a little bit going up against Web3. Let's hop along with this one, see how they're doing. Web3 opting for like nature fire plus a little bit of magma. Does have the Pyrox as well as the Singe, so they do have that affinity right by there, or right like that. They have the staff, which I don't see a lot of people actually pick up this staff, so perfect to get to that magma affinity relatively early, especially when the Lulura here is going to just dive on through. So it's going to be playing on the Web3's home turf, so to speak. There's the big ability coming on through the entirety of that green side. But here comes the lightning, able to bypass the front line of Web3, but it is not going to matter. Might have lost a couple of alluvials, but nothing too crazy. Gonna try one more time, could not get the reset. The squeeze, the ranger, all going to fall. This is gonna be Web3 Gaming taking care of that one. Leading the charge here is the Periox, loaded up with items, attack speed, true sight, attack speed, and damage to shields. This Periox basically has... Periox? It has basically all of the items it could possibly want. Foxspirit, of course, is leading the charge here, opting for Nature Verdant, kind of a combination. Wildfire probably in the pickings in just a moment's time as well. See a lot of really big health bars here, and this team is absolutely stacked. Everything I've clicked on so far has been at least level 50, if not higher. Really took the time to either have a teammate level that thing up or took the time themselves to go on in and level those alluvials up to be the best they can possibly be. As he now actually has to go up against their own teammate here, this time SNEG versus Foxspirit. SNEG has now moved on over to 8 fighters, really all-inning onto the fighters right now, including the Riplance, which we seen earlier into the day, probably had the clip. I wish I was casting it, but the first tournament I ever seen, the Riplance had absolute potato pathing and got stuck on its teammates and couldn't do anything. Well, this time, I can't remember which player it was I was spectating, but the Riplance was dancing in and out of ramp fights ability perfectly and coming in clutch many times. And with it being loaded up here once again here for SNEG, we'll see if it kind of clutches on through this front line. It might have been tanky, it might have been leveled up, but it does not matter. Everybody's tearing on through here. There's enough firepower here with these fighters, but there seem to be some dwindling numbers. Just got to get through the twine. The Verdant might proc, but it's not going to be enough. Right on the back line, the Zephyrlynx is there as well. The Riplance is going to end up falling, swinging away as quickly as they can, but it does not matter. That Fur Knight is going to come in clutch here for side Foxspirit. Because once again, that Fur Knight basically, especially since it's almost max level as well, loaded up on items, this thing might as well be a DPS even though it's an empath. Ma is now on death's door going up against FuryzHYPE. Take a look at our compositions once again. So FuryzHYPE loaded up with lots of rogues, got the 2 empaths to at least get the shield for some temporary sustain. Got the Revenant as well. Meanwhile, nice little mixture for the side of Ma, but they needed to come on in clutch. They do have the loaded up Paradox down in the bottom, and all that team just dove in right into the middle of the stun, but here comes the Rampy, and it burns it down! Just shreds that team. That's the one rogue that does not mind going into a bunker composition, and immediately shreds it. And that is going to be our first elimination here in the semifinal. Thankfully here for Ma, this is a best of 2. Their day is not done, not just yet, but they need some sort of miracle work to happen in that second game. Nobody on death's door just yet, but one thing that's kind of unexpected here from me personally, badool was just at the top of the board not too long ago, and they have fallen all the way down towards the bottom here. Gonna be taking a look at that in just a moment's time, but they're going up against the Ghost. In this instance here, I do want to see what happens when both of our Titans collide. We do have Foxspirit up against FuryzHYPE. Once again, we got rogues, we got a mixture of bulwarks, empaths, the Aegis, the bunker composition, and we have a ramp fight ready to rock. It's right next to the Paradox. If they can get the ultimate off, it is going to be clutch, right on top of everybody, but it just straight up got sustained through. Nobody really took more than half damage until the rest of the squad came on through. There might still be enough to do it. It wasn't a ramp fight one-shot, but it was enough to get the job done, and especially with that slash-in completely loaded up on items as well, just being able to sustain all of that damage, or put out sustained damage, rather. Beautifully done there, and that's going to now let FuryzHYPE lead this lobby. And now, badool, death's door awaits you here. Needs the clutch on up, has the rogues to do it, has a ramp fight loaded up with items as well, including the invasive veiling, which allows it to become untargetable if it gets focused down. And the way that this composition, or the way that this team is set up right now, here for badool, leaves plenty of little crevices for that ramp fight to kind of squeak into and get that perfect ability off. And you can see badool's trying their damnedest to just reposition everything, and it's not too bad actually. A lot more of their alluvials up on the top hand side. So this ramp fight originally is just going to get a few, but not too many. Gonna pop it up and then drop down onto 2, does take them out, but it might not necessarily matter here. Can the Forest stay alive in the background? They're trying its damnedest into the center, but there's too many alluvials here on the green side. One more attempt here for the Lura to get the job done, but there is just too many bodies. That's gonna be badool having an absolute plummet in the middle of that game, and gonna be their second one eliminated from this game. Got a couple tier 5 alluvials this time in the carousel. Not sure if anybody's really been going for water-based kind of composition. Has not been a popular one, to say the least, because I see the Alfie there, but I'm not sure if anybody's going to bite, because one of the things you do have to keep in mind here with this Leviathan style game mode, sure, you might find a tier 5, or you might find something good in the carousel or in your shop, and you might want to like really overextend to pick that up. But if you don't actually own the alluvial and don't have it leveled up, is it worth it in the long run to commit to that? So it's definitely something scary that the Leviathan game mode does add compared to our traditional Illuvium Gauntlet. SneG.Atlas is going to be the next one on death's door here. Web3 Gaming Hype is probably not safe either here. Round 22, I feel like a bad loss could absolutely knock them out here. opting for the fighters and berserkers, so or they do have the Cartolox for the tank, but pretty much it's the only tank on the squad. It's a scary way to play, but if that Cartolox can clutch up for you and hold the line, definitely a high damage way to play. We'll have to see how this goes up against SneG's next opponent. And it's going to be going up against Foxspirit. If I'm in SneG's shoes, I am definitely a sad panda. One, of course, it being a team battle, but two, while Foxspirit hasn't necessarily been invulnerable, he's been very, very strong so far in this tournament, with this, especially with this sustained style. And look at this gnarl here. This thing is absolutely devastating. Fully leveled, holographic as well, loaded up with tank items and reflective damage on top of that. That is going to be nasty. But meanwhile, on the side of SneG, you do have the Jotun. That big old polar bear has a ton of damage alongside the Riplance. If they can stay alive and just keep dishing out damage, it could be enough to get this one done and keep themselves alive. They get past the one tank, looking to take through the Crunk as well for the next round. Takes care of that. They are on the backline. Riplance just chopping on through, trying to get the Archos. They do manage to get it, but it is going to be costing them their life. It's up to 2 on 4, and look at this super chicken in the background. This thing is just spamming attacks, and it is going to be all for nuts here for SneG. As KiritoHYPE also falls, Webgaming 3 Hype also falls. That was an absolute brutal round here. Our next matchup features 2 from the top of the board. FuryzHYPE versus Foxspirit. The Blotto in play now this time as well. The Nature Verdant Wildfire with Magma as well. And Granite. This is such a crazy composition coming out here for Foxspirit. Versus the Rogues. Can the Ram fight find? Oh my gosh, that is like a perfect position to get a solid ability off. Jump to the skies. How much damage can you deal? It felt like next to nothing, to be honest. It gets eliminated. And it looks like Foxspirit's just going to be able to sustain their way through. Just has to deal with this slash and off to the side. Granted, the Untargetable is going to make things a little bit difficult, but the Blotto says, no thank you, I'm going to give you a claw to the skull, and takes care of that one. Foxspirit making that one look extremely convincing, and this is exactly what I'm talking about here. Once you get the Gnarl, once you get a tank loaded up with items like this, it leads the charge even versus 2 arguable carries, just because of the amount of reflective damage it can do. That is absolutely nuts. Foxspirit's going to be going up against a Ghost, so we're going to follow alongside FuryzHYPE and SotaHYPE. Either player in death's door as of this moment. Both playing for Rogues, so do not blink. This one is going to be over in a couple of seconds, one way or another. That Malura, though, up at the very, very top, is a very, very strong tank for the Rogues, and it is leading the charge for the red side. Ramfight going up to this top, that's a lot of damage. How about another one, though, on the other side? They're going to absolutely trade damage, chunking both of them extremely well. Malura still alive, finally going to end up going down. One more time to the sky is going to short things down. The Slappin's still there as well. Monarch versus 2. It is not going to be enough. This one is going to be going on over there on the side of Sota. One thing that I will be trying to do my best here is have whichever player has the most health will be on the left side in the green. Whoever's your underdog of sorts or with less health will always be in the red. But taking a look at some of the Luvials here for Fury. Level 50 slash and 50 Umbre. Vermilion Air. Also at 51. Can they breach this bunker? Foxspirit's been able to hold the line for the most part. Very difficult ramp fight in the background. That was a good chunk, though. That ability did a ton of damage, but the SqUaAk is able to survive just by a thread. And with the rest of the damage coming on through here from the red side, they have to get the damage out quickly. 3 left to go, and it's all up to the Super Chicken once again. It's not gonna happen. The line has been broken. Foxspirit gonna take some damage here as FuryHYPE able to take them down there. Getting down to the end here. Now, of course, once again, these semifinals, it's a best of 2, so it's not based off of one game with top 4 moving on. It's your total points after the 2 games, so gonna play this one all the way through. Whoever ends up winning this one is gonna be sitting pretty going into game number 2. I mean, FuryHYPE is right on the doorstep to getting the ramp fire, which would be absolutely devastating. Ramp fight does a ton of damage by itself, but if you can manage to get the stage 3 version of that thing fully evolved, that thing fires off its ability. Basically curtains. SotaHYPE here could also be curtains if they do not manage to win this one, but at least for the benefit for them, they're going to be forcing rerolls on the side of Fury if they really want to try and push for that stage 3, because we see here with Sota, they too also have a bunch of the ramp views, a bunch of ramp fights as well. But if Sota does end up falling here, puts them all back into the store. The rogues versus rogues once again. This one going to be a blink and you miss it. Monarch open firing on both ends here. Carpet bombs coming on through. There comes the first one from the ramp fight. Here comes another one. Lots of damage being done, especially to the red side. I don't think Sota's got much left in the tank here. One more ramp fight ability tries to get something done, but it's 4 up against the Monarch. SotaHYPE, a valiant effort, but that is going to be an elimination here in 3rd place. Down to the end here in this first semifinal. And take your pick. Gonna end up getting the bulwark ability as well, getting the imprint to do so. Switch anything you want into a bulwark. And then opting for Fate Sealer, which basically makes it so that your attacks cannot miss alongside some additional stats. So both of these players, they know what they need to do, and yeah, sure enough, that Fate Sealer is going to be put right onto the SqUaAk. So this thing, without question, it's going to just be doing a constant, like, consistent DPS throughout this entire battle. You've got the damage where you want it. You've got plenty of these arcane accelerators onto what I believe is your Blazonite now. Yeah, so you've got the Wildfire with the Blazonite. Lots of damage there. They do not, or on the side of FuryHYPE, they do not have the ramp fire. So that ramp fight's going to try and go directly in towards that SqUaAk. Can it be successful at doing so? The burst damage versus the sustain. Who's going to end up taking care of this one? Ramp fight up to the top, and that nearly once again takes care of the SqUaAk, but not enough. And the damage is just too damn high here on the green side, even through the or with the sustain as well. Too much healing, too much damage. Umbre trying to get involved as well, but it's all going to be for naught here. That is going to be Foxspirit taking that one, bringing FuryHYPE down to 3 remaining. Basically time the all in here for FuryHYPE if you want to try and breach this bunker. But you can see even right now, Foxspirit moving things around, not keeping things the same, does not want to get jumped on by a bunch of AoE damage, whether it be the ramp fight or the Billionaire. And Furies, they're rolling. They're trying to find this ramp fire. They have pretty much everything they need. They need one more, though. But I can't tell if they run out of credits or what, but they're not going to be able to get it. Right there, but not quite enough. Diving on through immediately into this one. Here comes the ramp fight once again, chunking it right down to about that 3/4 mark, but the Archo's heal is going to be able to keep it alive about halfway through. That it feels like there's a little bit more damage, or the healers are having a little bit of a harder time sustaining, but it does not matter. Foxspirit is going to be able to clutch that one up once again. Got low, barely teasing us all at home here. FuryzHYPE getting a little bit of a glimpse of hope, but there's just too much healing, too much damage. The Archos leading the squad in terms of that healing. And that is going to be game number 1 here of this semifinal, going over to Foxspirit. Let's quickly take a look at the team compositions for our top 4 finishers. Of course, the Nature Verdant Wildfire, just bunker composition really coming out here from the side of Foxspirit, doing a fantastic job. Solid attempt here from FuryzHYPE with that overwhelming rogue presence, but could not quite find that final ramp fire that they are looking for. SotaHYPE, very, very similar situation, but they had a little bit more tankiness there with that Malura, but could not quite get the job done. And KiritoHYPE finding 4th place here. Once again going for rogues. I think I'm seeing a pattern here. Getting 4th place. Alright, let's start this off. Our second semifinal match. And this time we're going up with Group M, so we have a couple of different players compared to what we've seen before. So we did see SqUAk a little bit earlier in our first couple of games before I started casting. We've got Patate, we've got Zico Perico, we've got Winnie from Team Monarch, we got Zadkiel07 from Team Hype, Texan Hype, Anubis, Syndicate, and everybody just moved around. I just missed one, I think, and then SqUAK's. There we go. Yeah, that's A-OK gear. I thank you for it. Thank you, thank you. Now, if I'm thinking about this correctly, this should be the exact same combination of players, which means in theory I should be able to see who got how many points in the last round here. So we're gonna see Zico as of right now looking to try and tear on through, but it looks like SqUAk is gonna be able to get the better of them this time by pretty overwhelmingly so, taking care from there. Okay, so right now, Zico, SqUAk, SqUAk, and Patate, of course, the ones that got in the top 4 last time. Got a blank on the site, as well as Winnie, who are also very, very close there in 5th and 6th. Here's going to be something I'll try and cross-reference a little bit throughout this semifinal. Alright. First time we're going to see Zadkiel here in this tournament here, just has the 1 bulwark, but has those 2 lynxes as well. Relatively well leveled up as well, not maxed by any means, but hey, 46 and 35 is not too shabby in its own right. So a little bit of firepower there on those lynxes. Well, they might get focused down and taken out, however, though. The Fleesh did fire at the one that had the items, but right now, that one still has a lot of health left in the tank. As I say that, it does end up getting focused down, taken care of. Zadkiel going to end up falling this time by. Winnie going to take that one. Look around the board. Let's see, so Zadkiel is going to unfortunately be the caboose here so far in this match, but of course still extremely early, only round 5. Nothing to fear. Not now, not yet. Who haven't I seen? I don't think I've seen Anubis yet. Anubis and SqUAk, okay. Of course, Anubis is one of the people that I've actually seen streaming this game first. I had actually seen his streams on X, him going through the ranked side of things. So it's cool seeing that they are able to get into this tournament, especially since they were... The fact that this Illuvium tournament in general had a waiting list was absolutely crazy to see. And I'm glad Anubis got the chance to get in there, because I know that... I don't know if it was time zones or what, but it did not get them very, very lucky in terms of signing up. But they made it in nonetheless here. Anubis with 3 bulwarks in the fighters can try and tear their way on through. They do have the Rylu here, tearing a hole through the links, and as of right now, it's up to the Ranger and the Rylu to try and pull this one off, otherwise they will end up falling. Vermilia going down, but so are the other 2 on the side of Anubis. They will take the heat. Slick's going to keep putting on the pressure on everybody they play. So other than Slick's, Winnie is the one who still has not lost a round yet, and even their Atlas is level 60 here. So the Groko even level 41. Because I feel like that's probably a trap that a lot of players would end up falling into. Like, if you were to really, really focus on trying to level up some of your alluvials, I imagine that you're probably doing your stage 2s, or you're trying to do your tier, say, 3 to 5s if you have them. But the early game is still just as important as the late game to set yourself up for success. So I've been very, very impressed with these players that have even their stage 1s of their tier 0s or their tier 1s still highly leveled up, allowing them to really, really put the hurt on in these early rounds. I was gonna say, there's no way that that Kling goes through this carousel unclaimed. And sure enough, it is gonna be SqUaAk picking that one up. Anubis picking one up for themselves as well. Texan getting the wings, so a little bit of extra disruption for themselves. Always a great fit into pretty well any composition. Now, I haven't had the opportunity to take a look at Texan, and oh dear God, they're going up against Slicks. So, best of luck early into this one here. Nice little mixture of sustain and damage and tankiness for the side of SneG.Hype. However, again, you're going up against Slicks, which of course is unfortunate because team battle, but the firepower on the side of Slicks has been something that nobody's really been able to deal with so far here in this round. They do manage to have that exalted air fleece, but if anybody's been following along with me, you know that I think that these fleeces are basically useless. I would love to be proven wrong right here, right now, as it has 3 items on it. Burst it down. It does manage to burst down. The Bangwen takes care of it now, focusing down here onto the bull on the bottom hand side, but that Lynx here from the side of Slicks is still just tearing on through. The weak one gets away or gets taken down, but the one with the item still holds true. Versus the Ranger, versus the Fleece. Each of these shots are basically taking a half of its health, but the Fleece will stand tall. Texan going to break the streak here from Slicks, which now makes Winnie the only one undefeated so far, now going up against SqUaAk. I had to take a breather there for a second. I did not realize, I've been so into the game that I did not realize that my kids left some nursery rhymes playing on the TV in the background before they left. Hopefully that wasn't coming through the microphone. It was pretty low though, so I highly doubt that. But SqUaAk trying to break the win streak here of Winnie. Does have that sustained composition here with the Natures and Verdants. Meanwhile, it is going to be Winnie bringing the firepower, but that SqUaAk ability going through the front line is going to make things difficult. The Lynx is extremely low. It shall fall. They got to deal with the Polar Bear and the Rylu. Right on top of the Twine. That Verdant ability coming on through for the Affinity coming in clutch to keep that thing sustained for quite a while. That Crunk, though, it's kind of in between the two. I don't think it's getting the sustain from the Verdants in this instance, but they might have enough thorns, they might not have enough healing there alongside the Archos to get the job done. A little bit of a wet noodle fight now between the Pyre and the rest of this squad. It will slowly but surely fall. Winnie's undefeated streak shall fall to Zico Perico. Right along here with Zadkiel, had a little bit of a better couple of rounds compared to the start. Earth Granite kind of style going on this time by, so that Ranger going to be invulnerable for a while. If the TNT gets jumped on, it's going to be invulnerable for a while. But on the other side, a solid mixture of damage and sustain, it looks like, going into this one. Let's bring those damage counters back on up here and watch how much damage this dang Twine does, even though it is a tank. It looks like the Fern jumped on in the top left-hand corner. At the same time, though, the Ranger does jump on the TNT on the right-hand side. The Fern is down. That Gorilla being able to just take out the squishy members so consistently is such a pain in the rear for these players. But they finally get the opportunity to turn and burn on it, leaving only the TNT. Anubis is going to be in a world of hurt in just a moment's time. Unless this TNT shot can take care of a couple. No, they have enough tank to be able to sustain through that. And that is going to be another big shot from 69 down to 62. It could have been worse, to be fair, there for Anubis. But Zadkiel going up the ladder here in this one. Now, what's Patate been up to here? Patate up against Texan. The chance to really see them too much here so far, just the one time with the little fleesh that could. There we go, that's better. Definitely lots of information on the Illuvium UI to the point where sometimes I accidentally hover over things, so I'm not trying to just randomly jump scare you with the text boxes, I promise you that. Just cannot control my mouse, apparently. But this time, of course, Texan up against Patate, and we're going to see that these Impassin fighters here from the side of Texan could hold on alongside that Exalted Fleesh. Loaded up with items, ready to go. Fires off away. That Tofi is not long for this world. It will be taken down, but that Gorilla is in the back line, trying to make things irritating. Drops the clone, tries to get out of there, and has to now deal with the Atipo. Does take it down, but as this all is happening, the damage is coming on through. One more time here, the Fleesh does end up going down. The Gorilla hanging on by a thread, and it's going to be enough damage. How much did it end up doing here? Over 9,000. Fair enough, Gorilla. Respect earned. And this is kind of the thing that I'm worried about here with the Fleeches, because this thing's loaded up with ability power, Omega power. It's a tier 3, and it still got doubled by a tier 1, which granted, some of that could very well be due to the level. If this thing was a level 1, then fair enough. It doesn't matter if it's a stage 3 or not, it just doesn't have the levels to do here. Now we have an opportunity here with a NPC round. Take a look at our standings as of this moment. Winnie looking to try and make up for the, I believe it's the 5th or the 6th place finish in game number 1, trying to put themselves into that top 4 on points if they can get themselves a solid one here in this second semifinal. Zico Perico looking for another solid victory. SqUAk alongside Zadkiel, Slicks, Patate, Texan, and Anubis. I don't think anybody's sweating or getting too nervous as of yet, but we're almost to that point where things could start getting nasty. Up along here with Winnie, who's up against Texan and the little Fleesh that could. Let me confirm, is that thing level 1? Yeah, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. when you don't actually own the Illuvial itself, it shows up as level 1. So that's one of the detriments for somebody who maybe hasn't necessarily gotten the opportunity to find those Illuvials in the overworld. But that's actually a fantastic swap up here. This is going to change everything. Finding the squeeze, being able to get rid of the fleece should put all the items onto the squeeze. Now you've got that, you've got the polar bear as well, you've got the mojul, or the mole. I'll call it polar bear. But it is dealing with a very, very tough squad here on the other side. That foe loves to get in your face and just fire off those talons as fast as possible. As you see, you may have had the squeeze, but the front line still got destroyed. Texan in a world of hurt. When are you going to go up against Zadkiel? Zico, what are you up to? Going up against Monarch. Now, I'm going to very, very quickly just admire this arena. Of course, this is one of the microtransactions that you can get into the game. You get the different arena types. This one's just extremely pretty and extremely cool to me, so I had to check it out. Fighters, Berserkers, a little bit of rogues here on the side of SqUAk. Meanwhile, SneG.Atlas has that bunker composition that we kind of saw Foxspirit going for. Just with the exception of missing one more wildfire, but you can see they're trying. They almost have the Fur Knight loaded up and ready to go. And SqUAk bust the bunker. We'll have to see. It does not help too that Archos does have the one augment that gives more mitigation and basically damage reduction to everything nearby at every couple of seconds. So that entire green squad is going to be super, super tanky alongside the healing. And as you can see, this isn't even close. SqUAk is going to take big damage here. Takes 13 as we see like double spark here. How much is he actually at? 60. Okay, so sitting at 60 now. Still a big, big hit there for SqUAk. Yeah, this thing right here, the set best pulse. So yeah, every couple seconds, every 4 seconds, anything very, very close to it gains mitigation. So those bunker compositions, if they can manage to get that item, they are sitting pretty. And SneG.Atlas, of course, as well. Also now sitting with 7 nature, 2 verdant. Somehow find the wildfire, and that's going to be a tough bunker to crack. SqUAk looking to maybe pick up the dash for a little extra firepower. Anubis picks up a dash as well, but has the extra healing item on top of this. Honestly, probably good that they took it and didn't end up giving it over to like SneG.Atlas, for example, because imagine putting that thing onto this thing here as soon as it stops moving, where allies get 15% more healing. You give that to a bunker composition, and you're in for a bad time to try and crack the bunker. But we'll ride along here with Slicks and Anubis. Heavy rogue coming out here from Slicks. Rogue and Revenant alongside the tanky Earth and Granite style Orcs, Empaths, and a couple of rogues as well to kind of round up the composition. They have to sustain and tank through a ton of damage, however. Big ability from the Scarabok to fire on through and stun up a ton. But there are a lot of low health bars here on this green side. Slicks is getting very, very low, but at the same time, Anubis' squad just seems to be getting shredded. They found the hole, they found the chink in the armor, and they crack on through and just clean up shop. Anubis now down to 35. We are slowly but surely starting to get towards that death's door. Winnie still in fantastic position going up against Anubis. Our first and second place players currently going up against each other here. Let's see what Zadkiel and SneG.Atlas are up to. Zadkiel with the Bulwarks Fighters And a little bit of extra sustain there with the Empath. Meanwhile, Empath bulwarks, so again, SqUAk, this bunker composition. But again, lots of firepower with these fighters. Just constant DPS. He manages to have 2 of these steadfast pulses, though. That's absolutely disgusting. So even if they crack the front line, this is going to be a very, very tanky back line for Zadkiel to have to try and break. Right now, Zadkiel not looking too bad, though. Thankfully, there is no wildfire here on the side of SqUAk, so they're not necessarily getting some extra sustain in that regard. But the Verdant perk is going to end up coming on through. That green puddle that you see on the ground. The front line has been shattered for the most part. It's just up to this Crunk for Zadkiel to try and get through. But I think they ran out of juice. It's just a tank fight now alongside the Apon. And that is going to end up going against Zadkiel here. They're slowly but surely going to end up falling. Broke through about half of the front line, but could not make it to the other bit. Close, but not quite. Now, of course, our leader's still right now in this lobby. Winnie.Monarch. Heavy fighter composition. They got the right kind of items there for it as well, including double attack speed, super chicken ready to fire up here once this Fur Knight really gets the engine rolling. Our top 2 going to battle at it. We don't have anybody on death's door. I kind of want to see this. We know what's up with SqUAk. We know they want to just hold the line. But if there's any composition, if there's anybody that could actually bunker bust this, it has to be Winnie's team right now. And I feel like it's really going to rely a lot here on how long that Crunk stays alive too, with there being so many fighters. That smoke screen that comes out of the Crunk that blinds everybody. It really shut down this team. We're seeing, in fact, 2 Crunks coming out and swapping out the Ador here for the Periox. So a little less sustain, but for a little bit more extra damage. And then by adding the 2 Crunks, there's going to be blinds and smokes all over the place. A fantastic play, actually, here from SqUAk. Does it pay off, however? Because what are the chances that you actually have 2 of those things leveled up? First Crunk is about to fall, but at the same time, a couple of the fighters have also fallen on the side of Winnie.Monarch. It looks like they're not going to be able to bust this thing either. They're blinded. They can't find their target. It's up to the Super Chicken, really, to get the rest of the job done here. But I don't think they're going to be able to do so. 4-on-1, and it will end up going on over here to SqUAk. Winnie going to fall a little bit, and SqUAk now going to lead the lobby as we now see Anubis, our first one on death's door, going up against Zadkiel. Been a little bit since we've rolled with both of these players, so let's see what they've got going on. Anubis, heavy earth once again. With 8 of them being on the board, they do get that reflective damage since they've got more than 7. They've got their invulnerability at the start of the round because of that granite, but they don't have a whole heck of a lot in terms of class buffs. Meanwhile, on the other side with the Zadkiel, they have fighters, they have a couple of tanks, and a couple of decent sustains with the Empaths. We'll have to see how this ends up going. Anubis needs to strike gold here, but that can't remember the name of it, but the Scorpion in the background is just tearing through the rest of this squad. You gotta deal with the Polar Bear as well. There's way too much here for that mitigation to do anything, and that is going to be Anubis eliminated from this one, and I believe eliminated from the tournament. Ripterus, that's the one. I was about to call it Rip Lance, but that's the fully evolved one. Relatively even across the rest of this board. Even SqUAk taking a little bit of heat. Somebody finally broke the bunker. And 9 nature, that's actually crazy, because now missing health as energy damage, you hardly ever see that. hardly ever see anybody get that far with nature. And we'll have to see how this ends up going here, as it's going to be SqUAk going up against SqUAk. They do have the type advantage. I mean, they have the fire, they have the Inferno, they could get the Hyper going on, get that super effective attack speed and damage coming on through. But again, there's just too much dang sustain here on the side of SqUAk. Two jump to the back, it's not going to do much. There comes the Artes diving on through, carpet bomb across the healer, but it's just being shielded pretty well immediately. Artes going to get out of dodge, try to get onto that Archos. It's extremely low, actually. That'd be huge if that healer goes down. It does. There's not enough healing now. I don't think. Lots of low health bars. Does a Bariox end up living? Holy smokes. Yes, it does, but it's not the one I was looking at. It was the one on the side of SqUAk. Happens to be in nature. Well, maybe that tiny little bit of extra sustain was the difference maker in that one to make SqUAk fall down to 22 now. Now, I was looking at the one on the other side, I'm not going to lie, but SqUAk reminded me that he's the one in the spotlight here, or they're the one in the spotlight. SneG.Type getting a little bit low. Let's hop in with Winnie. You know, we just saw SqUAk as well. Texan and Patate are playing, it looks like. Yes, they are. Midfield battle. That is a ghost. Let's not do the ghost battle. There we go. Patate and Slicks. There we go. Let's take a look at these two compositions. I see a lot of fighters on the left-hand side here. 4 of them, to be specific, alongside Bloom and Magma. So some decent sustain and just consistent damage across the floor. We'll see in a moment's time as the Magma starts to bleed on through from the Ranger as well as the backline, where we see the slashing jumping right on in. Super effective, that water versus the fire. We can do some extra damage with extra attack speed as well. Rampy going to get there, say, as well into that one, getting the ability off. But again, it's that Vermilio that was doing a ton of damage, but it may not be enough. Slash and falls. As of right now, this one is looking very, very rough. And it is going to be Patate going to take care of this one. Coming out strong with the fighters and the bulwarks. And now Death's Door is here. And it's quite intense for some of these players. Of course, Anubis was the first to fall. Ended up getting 5th in the last one, getting last here. They are not making the top 4, so I believe that it's a confirmation that Anubis has been eliminated. SqUAk, on the other hand, got 2nd, but they do not want to fall here. They will probably get past. And then Slick's getting 3rd in the last game on Death's Door as well. Very, very close indeed as we go on through. The game will finish. I'll try my best not to call out exactly who is in the top 4 immediately based off of my on-the-fly math. I'll wait until I see the confirmation from the website. But a lot of players, either like 37 and lower, SqUAk and Slicks, of course, being in Death's Door. Meanwhile, SqUAk, they managed to find 3 of these things. That's actually ridiculous. Probably another difference maker, too, and why that Bariox was able to survive in that 1v2. Let's see one of these matches on Death's Door. Oh, they actually play each other. This is perfect. Okay. Somebody is going home right here, right now, it looks like. 2 of our players that made it pretty far in the first game of the semifinal, both finding themselves 6th and lower. Be not mathematically impossible, I don't think, but it'd be very, very tough. Fires and Infernos for the right-hand side here for SqUAk. Meanwhile, Slicks, with tons of rogues about to be diving on in. This one is going to end, and is going to end quickly. dives right on top of one of them, immediately evaporating them from this one. Ramp fight to the skies. There's already a lot of low health bars. This will absolutely clean house. Carpet bomb coming out here from the Monarch as well, in a perfect position to just shoot from afar, and that is going to be an elimination here for Slicks. Got third the first time, I believe. Yeah, third on the first time, but could not get the job done the second time around. That is going to be a tough one to come back from. We'll have to see how the rest of this lobby ends up going through. And one thing also, while we look at SqUAk here, that I did notice, they did pick up the power ascent. So, as if this thing wasn't a problem enough, it's going to double its health and get damage amplification and reduction. Absolutely crazy. SqUAk is going up against Texan. Zadkiel is going up against Patate. Let's go up against this one. We might miss one, but it's an odd spot. We gotta try and take our best guess. We've got the fighters here for the side of Zadkiel. Patate also with fighters, a couple bulwarks. This is a pretty even battle. It's gonna be an absolute slugfest. It's gonna be pretty reliant, I feel like, on can this Rip Lance take care of the proper targets. It's going constantly back and forth between the tank, or the two tanks, but now it's onto the foe. Is it going to be able to get that one? No, the untargetable comes out at just the right time. That foe is going to survive, and it's going to have free reign to open fire on that polar bear in the middle of the field. Now it's getting chunked down. Big heal from the Adoro to keep it alive. That thing was down to like 10%. Now, Super Chicken firing on through. Tons of attack speed on that foe, but look at this Goliath. It's just not dying, even though this Forest is wailing away on it. Just constant back and forth, stun coming on through. The stun's exactly what they needed. Can they turn this around? But that Laura here in the middle is also very tanky. It will survive. Or rather, Zadkiel will survive. And we do see another elimination. SqUAk has been taken down. Could not hold the line. Zadkiel versus Texan. A bad loss for either of these players could be curtains here for them. And it's a big old death ball here coming out on the left-hand side here for Texan up against Zadkiel. The fighters versus a couple of Scions, a couple of Empaths and Enchanters. A different kind of bunker composition, more so relying on shields instead of healing. Arte's Carpet Bomb across the tank line, doing some pretty decent damage, able to get open seas and is firing away once again onto the Polar Bear. But the Ranger from Zadkiel is in the back line. The Rip Lance as well as in the back line. A lot of the support has died here, and that should now be curtains, it looks like, based off of the reaction we're getting here. That is exactly enough for Texan to fall. Falls in 5th place in this lobby. Patate also going to fall because that was a rather significant loss. So now our top 3 here in this lobby. SqUAk once again, this nature-based bunker composition with a SqUaAk now as your damage dealer is absolutely bonkers. Meanwhile, Zadkiel and Winnie.Monarch. Winnie looking like they're gonna have their opportunity to try and break into this top 4. I think getting into 2nd should seal the deal there for them. Not a guarantee. Hang on a second, this is a ghost run. Let's hop in with a player versus player battle. Death's door possible here for both of these players. Let's see if Winnie can bust the bunker. They got the 6 fighters to try and do it, but the sustain is absolutely crazy here. Once again here from SqUAk. The SqUaAk hasn't gotten the perk yet from the power ascent. Now it has. It's basically curtains at this point here. That's a rough loss, and that will be Winnie.Monarch falling in 3rd. Could not crack the bunker. Could not touch the SqUaAks. Now leaves us with our last 2 players. I lied. That is going to be the second win here in a row here for Zico Perico. Zadkiel was going up against Zico Perico's Ghost, and they could not defeat it. So Zico, congratulations on moving on into the grand finals for sure with those 2 wins. 9 natures, 3 fires, verdant, and magma. That is a brutal bunker. That's got to be one of the most frustrating things to try and play through. Meanwhile, Zadkiel, a solid 2nd place finish with a mixture of fighters and tanks. Winnie.Monarch going for heavy fighters with 6 of them plus the Templars and tanks. And then Texan rounding up our top 4 with a fiery air-based Inferno Enchanter squad, which is one that we don't really see too often there. Good to see it doing pretty well in this